If you have a pulse, you probably hate the subject of taxes and running the bookkeeping portion of your business. But like it or not, if you want to be a successful podcaster, you are going to have to pay attention to your numbers. But don't worry, we have the answer for you, Core Financial. Our friends over at Core Financial have taken the pressure off of us so we can focus on what we love doing most, running our podcast. They take care of all of our taxes, monthly bookkeeping, financial plans, and make sure we take full advantage of all of the tax benefits we qualify for. It just feels good knowing we aren't going to get a big surprise during tax season. If you are serious about building a business with your podcast, head on over to howtomakeapodcast.co/core to see what they can do for you. Hello and welcome to How to Make a Podcast.
How to Make a Podcast.
My name is John Bunn and your name is
Nick Miller.
And we are here today
in person
with a fresh new episode for you. Squeaky fresh, like a baby's bottom after a nice bubble bath. I don't know. It's a new week here at How to Make a Podcast and big things are happening. We are coming off the heels of a launch for our How to Film Weddings podcast that is going to make us over six figures. And we wanted to have an episode just kind of breaking down the things that we're doing, all that kind of good stuff. But first, Nick.
Yes.
You seem very excited and happy to be here in person in Tulsa, Oklahoma. How are you?
I am really, really good. Yes, John and I, again, have decided to get together. We are recording some episodes here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The TUL. I've seen shirts or hats that say TUL.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, in John's house. It is his new office, his home office. He's just painted it, this nice color. We have big lighting on us, so we look really awesome. We look way cooler than we really are.
Yeah, well,
true. I do.
Yeah.
I don't. John's just always just oozes that coolness. Anyway, we are here in person. We wanted to record some more podcasts together. There's a vibe when we're in the same room together. We like it.
And Nick is talking like 1.6 speed. It's like your phone is not messed up if you're listening. He's excited.
When I get excited, I do speed and talk a little faster.
What?
I did that on purpose. When I get excited, I do speed up a little bit. My voice gets a little higher.
It's very true. So I'm going to go a little slower.
You're like
to
0.5
compensate.
Oh,
now,
man.
Nick, I wrote it down, but basically we're wanting to talk about where we make most of our money with our podcast. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, we have another podcast called How to Film Weddings. We've been running that since October of 2018 as a podcast and as a YouTube channel since the beginning of 2018. So around 3 years at this point in. And at the very beginning, Nick and I, we're really counting our costs with our podcast and saying, we're going to do this for 6 to 12 months without making a penny. Mm-hmm. But if we do this consistently for 24 months, we could really be making bank and, not just making a lot of money, but having a lot of impact. And we have worked tirelessly for 2 straight years to get to a point now where people are like, whoa, you're so lucky. Wow, I can't believe you make that much. And, whenever we tell them our podcasts made over $400,000 in 2020, they're like, what? How? I would be happy with $400. And so we get asked a lot, like, how are you making this money? And we've talked about sponsors before. We've talked about how we bring in $10,000 or so a month with our sponsors. We've talked about affiliates, but we've never really dove into our biggest moneymaker, which is courses and coaching / mentorships, things like that. And so with your podcast, we want to show you some ways and things to maybe be thinking about based on what we've done to monetize your podcast.
Yeah. So it is one of those things where it all is piling on top of each other. We do make a majority of our money from courses and coaching and mentorships and like that sort of thing. But if it weren't for the podcast, we know that this coaching, mentoring, courses stuff wouldn't have gone as well. And if it, so there was a path to it and a way that we decided to do these things. We say that we make $400,000 from our podcast, and that's not all just everything can point back to the podcast, but the courses and stuff, that's kind of, adjacent. I mean, if you want to think of it that way, I mean, it overlaps a lot, but but we believe that from the stuff that we've done with our podcast, we were able to make as much as we have from the courses and stuff because we were already putting the content out there. We were already being consistent. People could already see the value that we were bringing in. And so we built that loyal audience in order to do that.
And we submitted ourselves to a process. We counted the cost. And then once we got going on the journey, the journey was fun and is fun and still continues to be fun. But now that we're kind of getting to this destination, it's really fun. Every single day, I mean, at this point, it's thousands of dollars a day coming into our accounts. We get emails every time there's a new payment on a course or a digital product or, and it's kind of mind blowing. And I'm texting Nick all the time, like, this is insane. This is crazy.
It's true. He does that.
It is. It's crazy. It's given us both full-time incomes on top of our wedding filmmaking jobs. Last year was the best year I've ever had in the middle of a pandemic, and like same for Nick. And it's just like, but we wouldn't have gotten there without following that process. And we did start a podcast for free and gave free education. And we started a Facebook group for free and gave free education and continue to give free education and to build and to grow and to always be planting those seeds. But what happens when you've built a relationship with people and with your listeners for 1, 2, 3 years? They really start to trust you and they want to go deeper with you.
Yeah, yeah. And so the one thing that we were talking about for a while that we're really proud of that we launched with How to Film Weddings is, am I okay to go into this now? Is that where you were?
It's your podcast.
Oh,
man.
I know it's my podcast, but anyway, that we launched this last week for How to Film Weddings was we called it Mastermind by HTFW. And, the idea is with it is going to be weekly coaching sessions. With us, we're going to get all the students into the room with us, and we're just going to have topics. We're going to talk. We're going to do website review. We're going to help them with their business. We're going to give them homework. And then once a month, we are bringing in key people in our industry to come speak and teach on a topic for 30-ish minutes or so. And then we're going to do 30-ish minutes or so of Q&A so that our students can get, kind of direct access to some of these speakers. And then we're going to do at the end of the year, we're going to have a celebration, a summit, where we're going to all get together. Of course, COVID pending and all that kind of stuff, but that's the idea. We're all going to get together and have a celebration and kind of celebrate. Well, that's what you do at a celebration, is to celebrate.
This is good. This is deep.
That's very deep. The year that we had, the growth that we have achieved, we're going to look back and say, this is what I was at on day 1. Here I am on day 365. How have I grown? How have I changed? How has my business improved? That sort of stuff. And so, we opened it up and we had over 40 people sign up for this weekly training. And we're getting paid monthly by these people to learn from us and from each other and to grow their businesses. It's just powerful.
What has happened is by being a consistent voice and having this consistency week after week after week inside of our Facebook groups, on Instagram, in our podcast, by offering paid products, by having a course last year, we've set ourselves up as authorities and voices in the industry. Mm-hmm. And what happens, it's kind of that 80-20 rule where now we have 10,000 or so people tuning in, and we had around 200 or so people buy our course. And we thought, man, if we can get a smaller percentage, our course was $2,000, and this mastermind averages between $3,500 and $5,000 to be part of it based on some, different packages that we offered. But it's a deeper level. And because we've built a wider base, we thought, man, there might be 10 or 15 people that are willing to pay $500 a month to be part of something deeper. And we opened it up. We didn't know what to expect. And we had 42 people sign up for our mastermind. And we're going to talk more about it right after this break.
We can't tell you how frustrating it was for us to upload our podcast when we first got started. The websites were clunky, we had data limits, and it was all so confusing. That is, until we found Zencast. Zencast is an online platform built for podcasters to not only upload their podcasts, track their listeners, connect their audience, and so much more. Zencast plans have no upload or download limits, so your cost won't grow as you do. Embed their player that automatically updates to show the latest episode of your show. Zencast lets you see your podcast downloads along with your traffic, website, and Google Analytics. Zencast also supports multiple podcasts under one account. The best part is, if you already have a podcast on another platform, you can switch to Zencast with a one-click importer, all free of charge. So what are you waiting for? Head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/Zencast to start saving time and money with your podcast today. So you've got everything you need for your podcast. You've recorded your audio and video. You're so excited. But wait, you don't know how to master the audio or edit the video of your podcast. We know someone who can help. The podcast editors. Picture this. You record both audio and video for your podcast. You upload it to your remote editor, and a few days later, your podcast is ready for you to upload and push to the world. What will you do with your extra time? Connect with sponsors? Grow your Facebook group? Start that project or even course you have dreamed of for months? The possibilities are endless. We are blown away by the podcast editors and love working with them and using their services. They can edit audio, video, or both for your podcast. Don't get stuck trying to do this on your own. Get in touch with the podcast editors today. If you'd like to save 50% off of your first project, head over to howtomakeapodcast.co/the podcast editors.
All right, we are back from break. A longer break for us. Usually it's only a
But
couple
you
minutes.
at home had no clue.
No clue?
No clue.
But we are back. We were just kind of teasing you with the fact that we had a mastermind group that we just released for How to Film Weddings, our podcast, and really want to dive into some of that next level coaching that you can do with your podcast. I mean, if your podcast is teaching people things, or if you want to just go on a deeper level with, if you're a comedy podcaster, if you're a real estate podcast, whatever, you can, if you build an audience, there's a smaller portion of that audience that would be willing to invest into you.
One thing is, we were learning about this education and courses and that kind of stuff. We learned about the 80-20 rule. Okay, whenever it comes to...
I already knew about the 80.
Yeah, well...
Pareto's law. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know about this
Okay.
because I wasn't like a business guy, like in college and, and stuff like that, right? But for those of you that don't know what the 80-20 rule is, it is... I'm going to try to say
I'm excited
here.
to hear you give us the definition
Right.
of what the 80...
It is 80% of something comes from 20% of that thing. So, for instance... 80% of people drive on 20% of the roads in the United States. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so whenever you release something, some course, something of that, of your audience, only 20% will potentially buy that thing.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. That's kind of the idea. Yeah.
The idea. But the thing that's really cool about the 80-20 rule is it always continues to go. Mm-hmm. So if 20% of your audience buys your product, that's, let's say, $500. 20% of that 20% is willing to spend like 10 times more. Mm-hmm. And then 20% of that 20% is willing to spend 10 times more than that. So it can really compound. And so we had this, we had our free education. We have template stuff that you could buy. We had our course, which was expensive, that, we sold over 100, 100 and I don't know.
165.
Yeah,
or so
165, 170, somewhere in there. People purchased that. And then from that, now we've had 40 people that have purchased this mastermind thing that's more expensive than our course was. And so we're just kind of seeing this 80-20 rule.
And of those 40, we had 6 or 7 of them buy a VIP version of this.
Yes.
Which is more expensive. And our goal, I heard someone talk about like how Tony Robbins has a $5 to $10 book, and he also will let you spend an hour with him for $1 million.
Right.
And then he has everywhere in between. You can go to a conference, you can be a part of a group, and he has options for people all the way up to where he has enough following that his 80-20 rule, there are a few people a year that would actually pay him $1 million for an hour of his time.
For an hour of his time.
And again, if he gets 50 people to do that in a year, there's, a 20% of those people that would go even further. And so the thing that happens with this numbers, with the numbers that are coming in for How to Film Weddings, I'm going to assume we have had about 20,000 different people from beginning to end tune into an episode of our podcast. Somewhere in there, we're getting anywhere from 10 to 16,000 downloads a month. We have 8,500 people in our Facebook group. We have 3,600 people on Instagram, that kind of stuff. So it's hard to know exactly, but every episode is getting over 1,000 downloads. And so we know that there is a group somewhere between 10 and 20,000 people. And so 10% of, the 10,000 is 1,000. So 20% of that would be 2,000 people would be willing to buy something. And then of those people, we have, in our world, we have $50 digital templates, $25, $35 things. And that is a smaller portion. Not all 10,000 people are going to be buying something, but 2,000 or so people in the last couple of years have bought from our store, different things. And of those, around 10 to 20% bought our course. And of that, 10 to 20% have paid for next level coaching and different things like that. And so as you're building out your podcast, part of that growth, you may not see it at the beginning, but like as we're building a wider and wider base of loyal followers, more and more of them trust us and want to buy something from us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we're, talking here, think about like coaching, mentoring, education. If you are serious about making money with your podcast and using that as an avenue to make some money, yes, you can do it through sponsorships and stuff. But if you have some kind of life skill, some kind of skill that people can benefit from, that they want to do, that they could in return potentially make money from, like that is something that can be, you can sell that, sell your expertise. And while John and I do not have a college level education to become wedding filmmakers and that sort of stuff, we do have an education from experience. We do have, hey, we've been doing these things and we have made this money. So people are more apt to listen to you whenever you have walked the path for a while, rather than just start spitting out information whenever you haven't gone there.
And you don't have to be in a how-to type of podcast to offer next level content. I know even the Office ladies, I listen to that and they have a candy bag episode, something you pay extra and you get to be a part of it, or and they have millions of listeners. And so of that, they're probably making bank off of a small percentage of people that want to go deeper. And so with our mastermind, I know that the best way that I know how to teach or show people things is just to kind of say, here's what we've done.
Yeah.
And maybe that will spark an idea for you as you're listening. And so Nick and I, in August of last year, I was talking to my friend Ryan. He was starting a mastermind group, which a typical mastermind is 10 or 12 people that all pay $1,000 or so a month. And it's like a roundtable think tank kind of thing. And I stole from that idea thinking, okay, I know our audience. I know that our audience is, wedding filmmakers are a little less willing to spend money, and I just knew my market, and so saying, okay, $1,000 a month is not going to probably be the best thing for us, and we started formulating these ideas. And how you mentioned earlier, we thought we're going to take up to 50 people. It's going to be around $400 a month. It's going to include these things. We knew what was attractive and appealing to people. We brought in 10 of the biggest speakers and our names in our industry. We spent a ton of time branding and marketing and building this up to a thing that made it feel really exciting. We had a launch for it, and we had a timer that had urgency to get people to sign up and get them excited. Yeah. We had graphics ready for them if they signed up, and it created this entire experience with this FOMO, the fear of missing out, and this, oh my goodness, this is going to be a huge value to my business. And we put all this together not knowing if anybody, we had a contingency plan. We knew if it didn't work, if we didn't get at least 13 people, we weren't going to do it. We were going to cancel it. We knew all these different things, and we did our due diligence by asking moderators of our groups to say, what do you think of this idea? How do you like it? And we put together something that was sexy and marketable and branded correctly, and what happened blew our minds.
Absolutely, it did. And we're sitting here and just amazed. Another thing that we were able to do because we had our course and we had students, we were able to kind of do a pre-launch to them.
Yes.
So that we could also kind of work out some of the kinks before we made it public. So that was really, really cool. And on our other courses and our other stuff we've done, we ran lots of Facebook ads. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars of Facebook ads. But with this one, we did it 100% organic. We spent $0 on marketing. I did some stuff within our Facebook groups, and we sent out some emails to our email list of, it has 8,000 or 9,000 wedding videographers on it. So, we just sent it out, and then we were able to book this thing out, almost totally sell it out, but we were going to take just from this kind of viral marketing campaign.
And as we sit here today, we set a limit of 50 people in this group. As we record this, we have 42, and we still have a plan to go back to some of these 150 people that applied and try to get ourselves fully booked out so we can say we're fully sold out, number one. But if we have 50 people, the average is somewhere between $300 and $400 a month that they're paying. Mm-hmm. So somewhere between $16,000 and $20,000 a month is going to be coming in for 12 months for doing this. And it's like, what in the literal heck? How is that? Like, Nick and I are going to get raises. We're going to be able to elevate our industry. We're going to be able to help people. It's going to give us the ability to invest more into our craft, mm-hmm. into our community, and it's going to change our financial lives and give us another stream of income with our podcast. And so, when we were releasing this, some people were like, "Oh, well, I bet they're not doing their podcast anymore. Or it's not going to be free education." And it's like, no. That free education and that free, is what is the net that is mm-hmm. grabbing more and more people to where we can get paid. Like, people don't realize this. It's like the free stuff is the most important stuff because that grows your audience. Mm-hmm. And if you have mm-hmm. sponsors, we get paid for somebody to listen to a free episode of our podcast. Yeah. Because sponsors are paying for that. Mm-hmm. And we get paid to have a Facebook group that we moderate that's a free group because whenever we post a link to something or to our podcast or whatever, it grows and it all fans the flame together. And now we're in this position where we are able to create an experience for wedding filmmakers that has never been done before that I know of. We're going to have this killer party at the end of the year, which is going to be included as part of their pay. To be a part of it, we're going to be able to pay speakers, which elevates the speaker, like the whole education side of wedding filmmaking, and gives people money to really teach new things to the mm-hmm. industry. And it creates this entire feel in like, oh my goodness, I'm a part of something bigger than me. And those people, I'm really excited to see what we end up doing with Mastermind to take it to another level. Mm-hmm. Like, what kind of thing can we put together for, if there's 50 people that sign up, there's going to be like 8 people that would be willing to go even deeper. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just excited to keep seeing what we can do with that.
Yeah. It's all very exciting. We are all, I don't know, we're pumped on it. We're kind of on cloud 9. We just actually closed down applications for this Mastermind thing yesterday. And so we're just beside ourselves. John and I were kind of dreaming about what it would look like, if we had, 40, 45, 50 people show up. But in the back of my mind, I was like, man, we'll be lucky if we get 10.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting with 40-something people. It just, it shows you what happens when you build a brand, when you're consistent with that, whenever you show up day in and day out and you give something to people of value and they gain that trust. Mm-hmm. And whenever that happens, like, who knows what
it wouldn't work if it was just salesy, if it wasn't helpful. Yeah. And we didn't have tons of reviews of people that are happy and a tribe of people that come to bat whenever somebody tries to say something about us. And so hopefully, just walking through this today has given you some ideas or some thoughts. Maybe you're not there yet with your podcast. Maybe you're just getting going, but you don't have to start selling something if you only have 10 people. That's not the goal or anything, but like that might help you prolong your thoughts towards, your podcast of like, okay, I'm just going to build this free thing for 6 months or for 8 months. And I'm going to do these things consistently and try to grow an audience of 500 people or 1,000 people or 10, mm-hmm. whatever that number is. And then things start to really fall into place.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my favorite word to say when recording a podcast. John, I don't have anything else to add.
I think this is a good episode. I hope it's helpful to you all that are watching and listening. If you're not, a part of our Facebook group. Just search How to Make a Podcast. Join our group. We love serving this community. And until next time, we'll see you.
See ya.